Hi, this is Fish and welcome to Fish Picks. Today I'll be showing you how you can hack the Sparrows Progressive Lock set to get the best from your investment, and make sure you stick around until the end so you can find out how you can win this set for free. If you've not come across these before, the Sparrows Progressive Locks consist of 4 units, each with a laser-etched symbol indicating the number of pins in each of the cores. So a beginner might begin by picking the first lock with just 2 pins for an easy confidence builder. And then, as your skills develop, you can go on to pick the other locks which are pinned with 3, 4 and 5 pins respectively, producing, as the name suggests, a nice progressive ladder of difficulty. This is where I started my lock-picking journey after my acrylic lock, and I've already got plenty of value from this system, but I'm now at the point where these are no longer challenging me, so as we'll see, that doesn't mean that they should be consigned to the back of a dusty cupboard, because with a little modification, they can go on to keep even a confident picker on their toes for months or years to come. These locks all have the Schlage keyway and core, meaning that they can be easily gutted and repinned, provided you have the necessary tools on hand. To hack these locks, you'll need a Schlage tail cap removal tool, an appropriately sized follower, a pair of pinning tweezers, a pinning tray, some key pins and security driver pins, and a few replacement springs. Now, not all this kit is essential. You could probably get by with a multi-tool, a AA battery, and a concertina folded piece of paper, but in my experience, having the right tools for the right job can save a lot of headaches in the long run. If you're new to locksport and are looking for a cost-effective way of getting hold of these items, I'd recommend you pick up the Sparrows Reload set. In it, you'll get a resin tail cap remover which doubles as a follower, a pair of pinning trays, 30 security pins consisting of 10 spools, 10 serrated and 10 mushrooms, 15 springs, and then 5 replacement tail cap pins with the springs that go with those. And then in addition, you'll get 4 different keys with bitting designed to give you specific challenges, and I'll come back to those later. If you do decide to pick this kit up, I'd recommend you spend the additional $8 or so and ask Sparrows to include a set of pinning tweezers, and you'll be good to go. The only thing about the Reload kit that I'm less impressed by is this tool, because it's made of a soft resin, and I found that over time the teeth of the end cap remover started to wear down, so I picked up a metal version on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description, and this will probably outlast me. It's worth noting that each of the keys that come with the original set have a unique bitting, so when you repin this set, which we're about to go on to do, you'll end up with 4 new picking challenges which will behave very differently with different binding orders once you have some security pins in play. So now, with the right tools and pins in hand, it's just a case of disassembling each of these locks in turn and creating some more interesting pinning configurations. So let's take a look at that now. First, using the end cap removal tool, you press in firmly and unscrew the cap. Remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Then remove the tail cap pin and spring and put these to one side. Now we need to remove the core. I found that you can do this without using a shim, but if you have one on hand, you can always insert it into the core between the core and the Bible to ensure that the driver pins don't fall into the plug if your follower isn't a snug fit. Carefully insert the follower, then push it into the lock body, displacing the core and holding the driver pins in place, and then put the lock body to one side with the follower still in place. Now it's time to remove the key pins. Covering over all of the chambers except the one at the front of the keyway, tip the core upside down, giving it a little tap if necessary, and allow the first key pin to fall out, and then place that in your pinning tray on the far left. Then the second pin is placed to the right of that one. This is the convention for disassembling a lock. Just imagine the key resting to the left of the pinning tray with the cuts pointing upwards, and this will help you to stay oriented. I'm working with lock number 2, so it's only pinned for the first 2 chambers, while 3, 4, 5 and 6 are left empty. In order to repin this for 5 pins, I'm going to need to find the correct key pins for the next 3 chambers, which correspond to the bitting of this particular key. Now you have a couple of options here. First, you could buy a repinning set, which contain a whole range of different length key pins along with standard and security driver pins, springs and C-clips for other kinds of locks. I picked this one up on eBay from South Coast Locksmiths. Using calipers, I've measured the Sparrows key pins to be 2.86mm in diameter, while the South Coast pins come in at 0.03 thicker at 2.89. And I've successfully used them to repin the progressive locks, so this is a cost-effective option and you'll have plenty of pins left over for the future. If you are going down this route, then it's just a case of using trial and error to get the right additional pins in place. Take a look at the bitting of your key, so you have an idea of whether you'll need short or long key pins, and then, with the key in the core, try a range of different length key pins until you find the ones that come flush with the top of the cylinder. Then repeat this for each of the other empty chambers, except the 6th, which remains empty because these are 5-pin keys we're working with. Alternatively, if you go ahead and pick up the Sparrows Reload kit, you'll remember I said that it comes with 4 coloured keys and their corresponding key pins. The red, green and blue keys accommodate 5 pins, while the black is a 6-pin key, so you can make use of that empty 6th chamber in one of the locks. The black key has some decent bitting too, with a nice low first cut and a high 4th cut, which you'll need to manage to get to the last 2 at the back of the keyway. In fact, all of these keys are designed to challenge you in different ways. The red key will give you the experience of picking low, high, low. The green key provides the opposite challenge, high, low, high, while the blue key is great for raking practice from high to low. So if you don't want to invest in a larger repinning set and need to pick up the other tools anyway, these keys and key pins make the hacking of the progressive lock set even more straightforward, because you're provided with the correct pins and it's just a case of dropping them into the chambers in the right order and you're all set. So that's what I'm going to be doing with this lock. Once the key pins are in place, we can now turn our attention to the driver pins, which will determine how challenging our hacked locks will be. And this is where you can just let your imagination run wild. First, let's remove the existing drivers. Turning the Bible upside down so that the pin chambers face upwards, and starting at the front of the lock body, which you can identify from the etched number, we now need to slowly retract the follower until the first pin chamber begins to appear. Because the pins are under spring tension, if you retract the follower too quickly, you can cause the pin to shoot outwards, perhaps never to be seen again. So perform this movement slowly, and then when the pin is ejected, place it to the far left of your pinning tray above the corresponding key pin. Then remove and place each of the remaining pins into their respective places on your pinning tray. You'll notice that they'll all be standard pins and of the same length. Likewise, the springs are of equal length and diameter. What you populate the lock with now will depend on your current ability level. As well as spools, serrated and mushroom pins, there are a whole host of novelty designs on the market, including the chess, munition and Scrooge pins designed by Lock Noob, which are also sold by Sparrows. I like to include at least one standard pin so that when it's picked it will lead to a false set, which makes for more interesting experiences. The rest of the chambers can then be filled with a mix of different drivers, but I'd recommend that before you commit to the changes, remove the key from your core and place the proposed drivers on top of the key pins. If you have a particularly long key pin, for example, it might leave so little space that a spool in that position will be wasted because it will already sit too high to catch the lip of the core. The order and placement of security pins is a dark art and beyond the scope of this episode, so my advice is to just play and see what you can come up with. Once you have all of the drivers in the right order, repopulate the Bible with your springs. Feed the follower into the back of the lock body and place each of the driver pins in place, pushing them into their respective chambers with your tweezers and gently advancing the follower each time to hold them in situ. Some lock sporters choose to populate chambers 5 and 4 from the back first, and then 3, 2 and 1 from the front of the lock, because it can be fiddly to insert those last pins from the front. But actually the progressive lock set's quite roomy, so I place them all from the front. Now it's just a case of reinserting the core with the key in place and offset a little from the centre line so that the driver and key pins remain separated for the time being. As you do so, the follower will naturally be pushed back through the lock body. Then replace the tail cap spring and pin, screw the tail cap back in place, righty-tighty, and once it is tight, rotate back a half turn so that the lock has enough play for the core to move freely, and you're all done. You now have an entirely new picking experience with a 5-pin lock instead of the redundant 2-pin lock you had a few minutes ago. Job done. Now, perhaps I've whetted your appetite for the Sparrows Progressive Lock set, but you don't have your own yet. Well, how would you like this set? As a thank you to the community for all the support I've received for this channel so far, I'll be giving away my personal set to one of you. You can find the details for how to enter the giveaway in the description. If you do win, you'll have the choice to receive the set as it is sold with standard and progressive pinning, or if you're already a more experienced picker, I'll happily repin these for you so you receive a set of 4 more challenging locks instead. The choice is entirely yours. The giveaway is live now and will remain open for a week, and then I'll announce the winner the following day. Thanks again for all your support. Please do spread the word. Good luck for the draw, and until we speak again, take good care.